That is so true. I always say the exposure to possibilities when you watch other people, that is possible.
Yeah.
I had this girlfriend Nadia, which you know. So when I watch her to be this self-made businesswoman, which she didn't come from a rich parent, she didn't come from like anything special, but she made it special. I was like, oh, it's possible. I saw it. I watched it with my own eyes, so it's possible. It wasn't this fairy tale or the books that I read. It was tangible for me. It was just right there, so I could feel it. So that was the things I'm like, I'm gonna make it possible for other women, for another girl, for my own daughter. Like, look, you can do this. What do you want? What do you want? You can do this for yourself.
Absolutely. And it starts with the example, and I think that's what you're kind of alluding to, asking me, like, how do you get past those different layers? And, same thing. I think my desire from the beginning was freedom. It always is. It's just the definition of freedom evolved, of what that means. So early on, it was literal freedom, where I'm like, why am I in this household where I'm not allowed to do the things that I want to do as like an Arab woman, like a daughter. And I know that my dad's trying to protect me, my family's trying to protect me, but I feel very oppressed and suppressed, and I don't want that. And so initially it was like a physical freedom that I desired. And then, that somehow as a woman also, again, Middle Eastern, it was like the way I dressed, where I'm like, well, now I'm going to dress how I want to dress. Yeah. And so I just chose to dress a certain way for a very long time, because that was a rebellious thing to do.
For sure.
And I think a lot of Arab women, Middle Eastern women go through that experience.
I'm right here with you. Yeah. I'm still dressed the same. Like, I'm conservative right now.
I'm like, I'll show you. I know, same. I'm like, I'll show you what that looks like. Yeah. So there is a lot of, when you say like fighting, there's a lot of that. Yeah. There's like resentment there towards that. And then we'll probably project it. I've probably projected that resentment on others, maybe partners, friends, whatever it might be. And so there's always like this resistance where like, F you, don't think that you're going to tell me what to do. Nobody tells me what to do. So I always have this like internal, I don't know, call it the trauma or whatever, but it's kind of internal trigger of you're not going to control me. And so I had to really soften up to that, where it's like, just because someone is trying to help me or be a partner or a friend, it doesn't mean they're trying to control me. Yeah. So that's something I had to let go of.
Oh, tell me about it. I literally hired people. So when I want to do stuff, even at work and others, they're like, Helen, no. I'm like, you can't. But say, sorry, you signed off the decision making to us, so you don't make the decision anymore. And I'm like,
so you hired someone like that so you could practice doing that? Yeah. Wow.
So I don't make a decision, they make the decision, and I'm like, I suffer and I die. And I'm like, but what you do is wrong. Then I'm sorry, you don't make decision.
That's so brave that you put yourself in such an uncomfortable position to get over that thing.
Hell yeah.
That's amazing.
Hell yeah.
That's amazing.
I got to a point that I knew in order for me to grow, I need to let go. It was so clear to me. Because I start, after my 6 years after business, I thought, I can do this. I became a micromanager. I like start doing micromanagement and everything, and I thought interfering with every single decision, because I was good at my decision. So you guys need to listen to me. And then I'm like, So in order for me to let go, I was like, let go. I'm not making decision. I'm like, even if it's wrong, let it be.
And isn't it funny how it's like, because you're saying, how do you become this person you want to become? And I don't really think that like we become anything. It's more like uncovering, because there are all those layers. So when you say let go, you're just like removing, actually. Like there's things that you're removing. And so it's like clearing the way, in a way, more so than like adding stuff to become something. It's just there. Like it's always there. Like when I think we're born with all the potential. Like when you think about like an egg and a sperm making an embryo, everything's there. All the data is already there. That's like necessary. Yeah. And it's not about adding it. Like sure, we learn skills. Yes. And there are things to learn, absolutely. But I think the biggest obstacles are what need to be removed rather than anything being added. So I'm with you there on that journey as well. I've had to remove things. And for me, I'll tell you what my catalyst was for removing things. I don't know if I would have made that choice myself. I started experiencing a lot of physical pain. Like literally, I was, for 6 years, I had chronic pain. And it was pretty extreme. Like I was in a wheelchair at some point. I mean, you never probably saw or like knew about this. But it would happen, I mean, it was just an ongoing thing for years. Like at one point in 2018, I just like did not work out because anything I did triggered it. And so I'm okay, I got to stop moving because I don't know why this is happening.
Freaking way.
And when it feels so painful, you're like, it's got to be something physical. Like there's something wrong with me physically. Because it started with what I thought was an injury. I was working out. Something popped. This is an injury. It's like, okay, but years down the line, this injury healed. So why is this still happening? So it's psychosomatic. So it's in essence, our brains are so smart. They find this weakness, point of weakness in your body, and they start sending pain signals to it. In reality, it's trying to get your attention to saying that you're actually in emotional pain. And so I was in an emotional pain and using all this resistance that we talk about and all this fighting, and it was just exhausting. And so it wasn't until, first of all, I accepted that, okay, this is not physical, this is actually psychological. And then trying to figure out what is the best kind of therapy that I need to do to like get rid of this. And it took me a while. I didn't do a lot of therapy, but it like took me a while to figure out what it was. So I started seeing a therapist in 2020. Around the time like the BLM movement came about, I just thought it was so brave how people just spoke up for like what they believe in. Obviously, the civil rights movement was going on for like decades in this country, but it kind of like resurged in a way. And at that time, that's when I started also thinking about my business again in a different way, where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm aligned. This is before the rebrand. So we rebranded a year and a half ago. And I didn't feel like I was aligned with like the message I wasn't sharing about my background, my culture, like why I even started Magic Dates, because I grew up with, like, I didn't share any of this stuff.
I see.
And so much, this was during COVID. This was like the height of COVID. Wow. It was like June 2020. And so, there were like two choices. It's like you either continue to oppress and like fold yourself, and I was like in a lot of pain, or let's unearth everything and like feel the pain and just like really allow for all the stuff and gunk to come out. So ultimately I found the right type of therapy. It's trauma-informed therapy specifically, and it took a couple of years, but I can say that I got to the point where I was pain-free, and it's just insane because I never thought I can get rid of it.
Number one, I want to say thank you for sharing. Number two, how brave of you, like, to have a courage to say, I had this, I want to fix it. Number three, taking the steps. Yeah. To actually going through the healing. It's a very, very big, because imagine so many people, like, they never want to accept, oh, I had a trauma. Like, even acknowledging that we had trauma, acknowledging, no, something is wrong, I need to go help myself, I need to listen to myself, I need to heal myself. It's the first step is the acknowledgement. And if you don't acknowledge it, you will never become this superwoman. And I realized the most powerful thing to do is like ask questions. So like when you think about, and it doesn't have to be like a literal question out loud, but that's when answers start to come to you. So when you say acknowledgement, that's exactly, I think, what you're saying. It's like, okay, this is happening. How do I fix it? That's a question. So I think that's connected to like a growth mindset of like, well, how can I move past this? Rather than this is how it is. Like, if the thing for me is I don't accept that this is how it is. So many people do though. But this is a very amazing example, and this is why I want to have this podcast. I want to say, look, I found this was going on, and I took steps. And no one knows about this. Like, nobody, I went to medical doctors, and as you know, my husband is a physician, a medical doctor. He, thank God, he's somebody who, he was trained in Western medicine. However, he's also like continues to learn every single day outside of what he was taught in medical school. And so he had an inkling that it was also something psychosomatic, didn't know how to go about it and like what can actually be done. But by and large, the Western community, like medical community, amazing for when you have an emergency and you go to the hospital and some shit's going down. But for something like this, I mean, I went to my doctor and she was basically giving me an anatomy lesson about the back and the spinal cord and like where all the different nerves are and the sciatic nerve. And I'm like, you think I came to you to give me an anatomy lesson? I'm trying to fix this. And everyone wants to tell you, all these doctors want to tell you about the physical structure problem. Well, there's an impingement here. It's like, okay, but that's not what the issue is. I've had this for 4 years. There's no fucking impingement. Maybe there is, but the pain doesn't need to be at an 8. When you have an impingement, maybe it's a 2 or a 3. This needs to be at an 8. Why am I in so much pain? And so I had to do my own digging. And so you have to really advocate for yourself. And this is, at the end of the day, what's so important is like, yes, trust the resources. But like, you have to advocate for yourself and be really curious and be a critical thinker and like trust your body and like trust yourself. That like something's going on here that like I'm not convinced that I'm just gonna like live like this forever.
because you will not go to a doctor and who's going to tell you that that's what it is.
Beautiful.
And so it's not until I went the psychology route that it's like, oh yes, you know, the brain does this sometimes, and now there's a lot more research on it. It's still not mainstream. However, there's more research on it, and it's becoming understood more. And so many people in the U.S. have chronic pain. There's so much chronic back pain. A third of it, 30 to 40%, it's hard to really quantify, but this is based on what I've been like reading and researching, it's probably psychosomatic. So 40, 50 million people in this country can be pain-free if they accepted or even had the resources to know that this is probably psychosomatic.
Oh, wow.
And it's a big deal. And psychosomatic meaning, again, psychological. Like something internal in our minds, in our brains.
You know, it's been from my journey, because I feel like my life has two parts, me prior getting a divorce and after getting a divorce. After I got my divorce, not the first year, but toward the end of the second year, I've been to coaching and therapy for the last 8 years. And I don't think without all this healing, without all these therapies, I still need to go. Like, this is a life style, and I'm going to graduate from every single one of them because I want to get to know myself more. I want to grow more. I want to be more. And this is something I'm going to continue, but I cannot imagine my life without this healing process, without getting to know myself, without searching to see why this hurt me, why this subject is bothering me, why if I get close to this person, I feel like I'm gonna get burned. Like I wanted to know why I have certain behavior, why I want to get to know myself. But it's the best thing that we can do to ourselves when we go after why I feel like this. Let me get to know myself. Let me get to who am I? Let someone else mirror me. Let me be brave enough someone else point out what I do and why I get triggered like this. So I think it's an amazingly brave move to put yourself out there to just go see let me get to know myself.
Yeah. I mean, I think like you said earlier when we first started talking, you're like, how do you know happiness if you haven't felt the misery or whatever it is? So in my case, and I think for a lot of people, before you even seek, before you can even truly seek that state of well-being or whatever it might be, I think some people have to suffer a lot first. Not because they want to. I didn't want to suffer. I didn't want to be in pain for 6 years.
But you don't know.
However, my ego, my own conditioning made it that I resisted for so long that I suffered. And so I think there's this element in life of suffering that is necessary until it's not necessary anymore. So it's it's necessary, it's there. It's
agree.
You have to suffer until you break past it, and then you're like, wow, why did I ever do that? I don't want to do that anymore.
Yes.
And then you no longer have to suffer.
Yeah.
So I think the threshold for people varies. Correct. So someone maybe needs very little suffering, and they're like, I can't stand this.
Got it.
For me, I have a really high pain tolerance. I actually did, Borna and I did our, my husband, we got our DNA sequenced. And we got all these reports on all aspects of ourselves, all of our genes and what they potentially mean. And so one of the things was my stress tolerance. Am I a warrior, someone who worries, or a warrior, a fighter? I'm on the warrior side. And so I know that because I have a really high tolerance before I'm wait, I'm under a lot of stress right now, so I have to really be very mindful because I allow myself, you probably are a warrior as well. You probably allow yourself to get very stress before realizing and noticing, and so it's even more important for people like us to
I like
introspect.
This.
Yeah, and give yourself the space even before you think you need it. You're like, how does Helen feel? How do I feel today? I have to do that too, because otherwise that can just go on and on.
So freaking true.
Because I'm going to we're fundraising soon for Magic Dates, and so there's always the story around it, my personal story. Not that all this is necessarily related, however, again, it's our story.
Actually, it's our story. It's so important because people want to do business with you.
With people,
Is you.
Yeah.
Your
100%.
story.
That's the first thing I'm learning about.
That's the first thing.
That's
your brand.
Yeah.
That's your brand.
Yeah.
What is it? Who is Diana? Like, why I want to be working with you?
Because that's who's growing the business at the end of the day. That's who you're trusting with your money. And it's like, wow, okay, I trust that person.
Absolutely.
They have grit. They have tenacity. Like, that's somebody who's going to get shit done. So 100%. For sure, the person is at the center of it at the end of the day. Correct. Ideas, products, whatever. There's a billion ideas and products out there. Yeah.
Then I have a funny question, which is absolutely not related to all this thing that we are talking about. But you're this tiny girl.
Okay.
Like, you're like so tiny.
Not my butt.
Well, you're covering it with your jacket right now. No, but still, as when you're going to this, already it's hard for a woman to compete and to get and to say, no, this is my boundaries, this is my point, this is where I'm drawing this line, and this is what you get the attention of what you want in business. And being a woman is really, really hard, but being this young looking tiny girl, how does it find you? Is that challenging for you?
That's a good question. I mean, it is related, I think it's
would they take you seriously, like, from get-go?
Yeah,
or
that's a good question.
Like, they get to know you, then they will take you seriously?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the context. And, like, early on, it probably was a little bit harder because I was just starting. I didn't really have much credibility yet. Like, there was nothing that proved. You need, like, evidence and proof.
Yeah.
Customers, retailers, like, something. Oh, okay, she's actually, like, doing that thing. So I think early on it's harder. But then also earlier on, I was, like, more naive. And so I just didn't care. I didn't even, like, think about that. I think I'm starting to perceive it as a positive that I also look younger, just because a lot of people are pursuing this type of thing in their 20s, and I'm not in my 20s. And so I kind of like that people think, like, oh, wow, she's this girl in her mid-20s pursuing her dreams, like, good for you. And so they kind of have this, like, feeling towards me that they want to support me. And so that's a positive. On the other end of the spectrum, sure, it's like, am I being taken seriously? I think at this point, just having teamed up with the right people and just having, Kevin O'Leary as a partner, and then now the largest manufacturer in North America is our partner. One of my advisors and head of sales is from General Mills, which is one of the biggest food companies in the world. So I think all these things, not that I want to be taken seriously because of these, like, men in my life. I want it to be because of me. At the end of the day, when I'm pitching and presenting my idea and my product, it's talking about all the stuff that I did.
Congratulations.
And so I think the world is changing also. Like, there are other women who are doing really amazing, beautiful things, and they're kind of, like, desensitizing our society to, like, allow us to, have the respect that we deserve and be taken, quote unquote, seriously. Also, whatever. If you don't take me seriously, don't take me seriously. At the end of the day, it's like there's only so much I can do to convince someone to do something and be a certain way. And like you said earlier, I'm not gonna, like, fight my way through life forever. I'm gonna. And also, I don't know, like, ever since I was younger, like, I worked for a medical office from when I was 19. On the phone, people thought I was, like, 50 years old. So I think there was, like, a certain thing about me that always felt really old. Maybe not the way I look. But, like, on the phone, I would get this. Someone's like, oh, I thought you were, like, a middle-aged woman who was, like...
Oh, really? Is it most of your meetings on the phone, or is it in person?
So, no, because now everything is, like, more digital. So it is via Zoom. And so they don't know how tall I am or how big... I mean, that's not... They just kind of see my face, and it's like, oh, okay, it's, like, this kind of cute younger woman. But that's as far as it goes. And I think everyone's so cautious now to not judge too much based on that. To not, seem... sexist or whatever it might be, whatever they're thinking in their mind. I can't control. In the VC world, under 2% of female founded companies are funded still. So yes, there's absolutely discrepancy. Whereas, like, 30 plus businesses are female founded. So it's just disproportionate still. Because of many reasons. Because we have ovaries and we're going to reproduce and we're going to crash and burn the business if we reproduce. So, but nobody's going to tell you that to your face. So never mind looking young. There are so many other things that are actually stacked against us. Oh, she's emotional. I mean, just all kinds of crazy shit.
All kinds.
And that's what I loved about, Kevin O'Leary, just to kind of begin with from the get-go. It's like, what is his thesis? Well, he believes that women are better operators than men. He saw that as an example in his mom, and he's like, all the businesses that are women founded that I've invested in have given me better returns. So in the get-go, I'm just going to align myself with men and women who just believe that women are going to do a good job. And he said, I'll give money to a goat if they're going to make me money. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. whoever it is. So
that is so true.
Whatever. At the end of the day, I'm gonna take this to the finish line, and I'm gonna partner with people who believe in what I believe in and believe in my talents and abilities. But they're gonna have to get to know me to know that, right? So yeah, it does take a couple conversations.
You know what I was thinking like 2 days ago? I was watching this episode about, you know how I talked to you, it was this podcasters which they have a bunch of people, bunch of girls and guys. And I thought about something so funny. You know, doesn't matter how old is the girl. Doesn't like 18, 19, 20, 25. A girl is never insecure or frightened to approach a smart, wealthy guy. Mm-hmm. We're never insecure. Mm. Like we approach them, it doesn't matter. Mm. But look at the vice versa. Mm. What is right now independent woman problems are? Like the men are frightened or like they get insecure with independent, strong woman. But so this is an example of how strong women are even without education. Mm-hmm. It's in our DNA. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's in our gene to be brave, to be strong. If we were physically as strong as the men were, it was gone. Yeah. It was gone. Men planned it like this for us because we can have nothing and we can manipulate them. We can.
I love that.
And doesn't matter how educated they are, it doesn't matter how wealthy they are, a 25 years old can manipulate a 50 years old rich man.
I mean, I think women are generally, you know, again, like whatever we define as men or women are just more complex.
Yep.
And so I think we're able to just, especially on an emotional level. Yeah, like on an emotional level, there's more complexity and like there's a certain intelligence. There, like we are the creative ones, and I mean that literally, like we actually create human beings. So like literally we're the machine that's actually creating everything, and so therefore we have to by default be more complex. And when you're more complex, there's more intelligence there. Like humans are more complex than a plant, therefore humans are more intelligent than a plant. And I'm not trying to say, you know, start a sexist war that like women are smarter than men. We're just more complex. Like there's more of an emotional landscape there that allows us to like have a multitude of things happening at the same time, and we're just complicated in the most positive, beautiful way.
In the most positive, beautiful way. So the reason I said this is like I truly don't want to set an example of like being like a sexist or have something against men. I've been exposed to the most beautiful men in my life in the last 2 years, and I promised myself I'm never gonna say stuff about like I hate men. No, I absolutely don't. I really truly love men. But something about women that we don't know about ourselves. Like we need to open our eye to say, look at in a society, like even a man in a power in, you know, like they have a hard time to engaging with another powerful woman, which a powerful woman or even no powerful or no education woman has no problem approaching someone with way higher sets of, I don't know, income or achievement or whatever, because it's something there is in our gene that we can do it. We are so capable and we don't know our own capability. We just need to discover our own a capability in order to just know, oh wow, we are powerful. We actually do have this power that we did not know.
Well, I think is what you're alluding to is just what true power is, that it's not actually these things. Because it can also be a woman who has all these possessions, you know, status, you know, wealth, keep society, whatever it might be, like whatever community she's in, and another woman can still not feel intimidated approaching that woman who's considered powerful, because true power just really is so much more of an internal
100%.
landscape. It's
100%.
Like it's not those things. Like maybe we want to attain those things because then it gives us more credibility.
It gives you just more tools.
Yeah, it is. They're absolutely tools,
you know,
for sure. But I think what you're trying to get at is that like women have this internal power that is very feminine. I think it is actually accepting our femininity and being aligned with it and not faltering from it. And that confidence is actually what's truly powerful.
Correct.
So I think maybe some men and maybe some women allow their ego to get in the way, and that's not powerful.
Yeah.
Because it's not true confidence, and that's why they don't feel comfortable approaching, another
that's
woman.
a good one. Ego. Yeah.
I mean, that's, like confidence, what does that actually like mean? Where does it come from? It's not from ego. That's so easy. It's like a balloon. You pop that.
Yeah.
Like ego's nothing. But like confidence is like such a stronger foundation. Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah.